say like financially, it was hard to make this move because financially the world was saying we are losing our minds. We are betting on something that has zero guarantees on income. But we knew if God was bringing us to this point in our lives, that there is something still greater on the other side for us. And we may not see it in this generation, but we're planting the seeds for our children and their children. And we want this to be something that is sustainable, this way of life for.
Happy living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey friends, will you join me for just a minute and imagine how awesome you'd feel living the unique and distinct life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. That's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you it makes a very happy life. And so can Cale and Kelly Crosby. They're my guest stars today, and they're here to share their unique and distinct journey to their life of significance. Hey, Cale and Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hey, Matt.
Hey. Thanks for having us, Matt. Yeah,
it's my pleasure. Why don't you get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world?
Okay.
Go ahead, Kelly. Take it away. No. So how are we leaving our mark of significance? Well, we are running a farm. That is something that I didn't know that we would be doing at any point in our lives. It's something that maybe as a child that I dreamed about, but never really thought it would be a reality.
Thought that could be a reality.
Yeah. And so we're running a farm, doing regenerative agriculture practices out here, and raising 4 kids in the process, 4 boys. So it's a never-ending adventure for us, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said you'd never ever imagined it. What was was there a moment that led to the opportunity?
There were several moments. Kelly and I we were living out in Colorado at the time, chasing I guess you'd say, the American dream. I had a retirement job, you would call it, I guess, a job with all the security that the world will say is what you need. Kelly had that also. And we had the birth of our 3rd child, a 3rd son. And our eyes started being open to different things, and our minds and our hearts were opening. And we felt like something was missing. And we started praying about it, and a lot of different things that happened in the process. But, several years later, here we are.
Amazing. Life is interesting how you get twists and turns. That I've had a lot of different things happen in my life, and most of them weren't really planned. It's just like you're responding to them. Well, let's have our audience get to know you a little bit through some mathematics with our happy formula. It's a super simple but super powerful formula. It goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's begin with power. What are your personal practices for generating all the power you need to get things done, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally? In other words, Cale and Kelly, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over to be a giver to others?
Well, that's a really good question.
That's a loaded question there, Matt. Yeah. Yes. Well, physically, we're staying active on the farm. We spend the majority of the day out and working with the animals on the land in the sunshine. We have the opportunity to make wise food choices, which helps us physically. Mentally, I think surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, and also having a group of mentors. I know I had shared with you that we met with Ray Archuleta at a regenerative agriculture conference, and he was just wonderful. And we also had the opportunity to go and spend some time at Greg Judy, who is another farmer in Missouri that practices regenerative agriculture. And so like-minded people definitely encourage us and keep fueling this fire that we have. Spiritually, I know for me, it's important to, reading the Bible every day has really kept me at peace and has given me clarity that we're on the right path as far as raising our kids career-wise. It's easy to get distracted with what the world says that we should be focusing on. But when I read the Bible, I get an overwhelming sense of peace that this is where God has called us to be, and that we are making a difference. And, it looks a lot different than the world, but it's where we should be. So
yeah, and when you say like financially, it was hard to make this move because financially the world was saying we are losing our minds. We are betting on something that has zero guarantees on income. Right. But we knew if God was bringing us to this point in our lives, that there is something still greater on the other side for us. And we may not see it in this generation, but we're planting the seeds for our children and their children. And we want this to be something that is sustainable, this way of life, for a long time.
Right. Not just for what we can get out of it, but it's how are we going to, disciple our children and hopefully, this continues on to their children and it just keeps going. So, we kind of came back and we had maybe a little bit more of a kind of a self mindset of like, okay, we're going to, be putting product out within the next year. We had a certain timeline, but what we've realized is it is so much bigger than ourselves. And, with Kel and I were talking earlier today, we saw a little video of this guy. He was talking about regenerative agriculture. And he was saying also that we need to regenerate our children, that we've kind of trained them to be in the box mindset, and we really need them to be thinkers outside of the box. And how do we do that? It's by having, letting them learn the connection that they have to the land, to their food source. So, this isn't just regenerative agriculture, it's regenerating our family. We hope that we're spreading this to other people in our community, to our friends, to our family members. It's become so much bigger than just starting a farm.
Yeah, that's great. For people listening that don't understand or don't know the word regenerative agriculture, just give me like a 30 to 60 second explanation. What's different about it than what most people think about farming?
What we're trying to do here is we're working alongside and with nature instead of trying to fight what nature is bringing to us. So a lot of the stuff we don't use herbicides out here. If we have weeds, we try to control that with clipping. We're using the animals instead of putting synthetic fertilizers on the ground. We're using those and paddock moves daily to try and bring the soil life back. So we don't just have dirt, we have living soil there.
It's really understanding that we're in many ecosystems and how they're all interconnected and how you can work with them. And, it's beneficial for the soil, for the livestock, for the products that you're putting out. And, it regenerates our land over time. So,
and it's a practice with less inputs. That was my big selling point when Kelly started talking to me about the regenerative agriculture, was we can put less inputs in this and still get a great product out of it. We're not dependent on the big farming system,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things I love about it so much, it's like because you're getting away from the big monocrop, just growing corn or raising chickens or just a single thing to maximize economies of scale. One of the things we also lost when we went that direction from old-fashioned farming, which is what regenerative agriculture is, right? You're growing everything you need right there. But it also, the mono farming disrupted the relationship between farm and community, which I love what you guys are doing, and all the regenerative farmers. It's like you are a major part of the community and the community is a major part of you. And we lost that when we did this big farming.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right, let's dive into my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And I love it because it's based on mindset, not circumstance. Kaizening life is knowing there's always something I can do better tomorrow than today. And it creates an optimistic, gentle, but powerful and continuous uplifting of my life day after day after day. So Cale and Kelly, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continuously give more?
Right. Well, I think, starting living when we wake up in the morning, we're living for that moment, not getting too ahead of ourselves, because with farming, there's like a million projects that need to be done or that they never stop. Mm-hmm. So trying to figure out your balance, having short-term goals. Of course, we have long-term goals, but, also, I keep going back to reading God's word, but that really puts me in a state from the very get-go of the day of where I can conquer whatever comes our way. Kel, what would you add to that?
I'm not really sure. I think I would just like to say, I guess we're learning that we have to turn this off at some point.
Right.
We have to, where we live, we're right in the middle of the farm. So it could be 24/7 if we're not careful.
Right.
And knowing when to take a break, knowing when to say, all right, that's enough for the day, because the list, like she said, never ends. It's always growing. And, we're never feel like we're where we need to be as far as the workload, but learning when to take a break and take a Sabbath day and recharge our batteries, I guess, is something that's been very important.
Mm-hmm.
So how long you been farming? How many years?
We're going on the 4th year of farming. So
all right. 4th year of farming, 4th kid. And so Kaizening life is all about how much easier you're able to do things in your 4th year, certain things than you did in your 1st year, because you've gained experience, or because you've begun changing the dirt into soil. And the more you do that, the easier it gets, the more things grow. Same thing with child raising. You make a lot of mistakes on the 1st one, and by the time you get to the 4th one, you've learned some things. So give a little bit about how that Kaizening, that small incremental improvements, help you year after year as you're growing your farm and as you're growing your family. And I think it also works as you're growing your relationship with the community.
Yeah.
Well, when we started this off, we had goats. That's something that we learned we had to get rid of.
Yeah.
We had a different breed of pigs that we learned we needed to get rid of those. There was a lot of things that were kind of draining us that we were just doing on a daily basis, because that's what you do when you have a farm. Right. And we're learning to simplify our daily workload out here. Instead of moving sheep and cattle separately, we've got them together now. We have a flurd. Mm-hmm. So we have the cattle and the sheep together. And so when we move it, they all move together.
Yeah.
We have meat chickens. That's something that we do seasonally. We don't do it year round. Yeah. It's just too much of a stress on us and the animals. We do forest raised pigs, but we do that seasonally also. So we're learning there is a season for everything on the farm, and not to fight it.
Yeah, we're not trying to chase mass production. We know we can't provide for everybody in the state of Alabama. So I think that's where the importance of having a lot of small local farms, that we can reach our sphere of influence and community that way. And so kind of understanding that and just learning to be more efficient every day with our practices, that's key with the farm.
And also tapping into our kids, our 2 oldest boys, 11 and 13, they are tremendous help. Which when we moved back in fall of 2020, man, they weren't so much help, because they didn't know what to do.
Big transition.
We didn't either. We were all just trying to do something. And now they're starting to see the rhythm and the flow and going to markets and having customers come out. It's all becoming a reality that what we're doing is working, but it is not an overnight thing for sure.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, let's explore purpose. That's the second element of the happy formula. And I've observed that major life transformations, those really big discoveries of purpose, often come, sadly, through devastation. Addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster. Something awful strips a life right to its core, resulting in some big change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover my purpose using inspiration. So how about you guys? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the purpose you were meant to live?
Absolutely. We were in Colorado Springs living. We just had our third child. Mm-hmm. And after Kelly's, what do you call that? Maternity leave was up. Yeah. She was like, I don't want to go back to work, because we were realizing like we were better off with her being at home. The family was working better. Things were not as stressful, and the kids weren't as stressed. And then
our relationships just drastically improved when I went on maternity leave. I was working as a nurse practitioner, and it was Monday through Friday, full time. The kids were staying in after school. I was running to go pick them up after work. They were hungry. It was just a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and we thought we were doing the right thing, and it was providing but we were missing something so important. So we actually met a farming family through a visit that I had at the farmers market in Colorado Springs. And there was just something different about this family. They were very just humble in their approach. They had a very great relationship with each other. You could tell family was a priority, and we became friends with them, and we just really latched on. We just wanted what they had, and God was definitely center in their lives, where he had been kind of pushed to the side for us when it came to chasing our careers. And so we started just praying about it, because we were really sick about leaving all that we had in Colorado. So we prayed about it, and Cale was tossing the idea about homeschooling, which I had been totally against all my life. And anyway, COVID happened, and the school kids got sent home, and I had to homeschool.
And it was, hey, now we're doing that part of this, but I've still got my job. I was an elevator inspector there. And it's like, well, I guess we could just do this until I retire. But man, that was kind of a sad thought. I felt like we were definitely going to miss something. And then this land came up for us to come back. Kelly's mother was looking to kind of get out of doing some of the farming that she was doing over here. And we said, we prayed a lot about it. And there was a lot of
tears. Oh, man. Just confusion and
gut-wrenching decision of leaving the life that we had built for something that we knew nothing of, to leave a nice big home, to come back to a mobile home, and not have a guaranteed paycheck was pretty tough. But I'm glad that
what was the thing that put you over the top? There's a moment, and one of the main things this show is about is inspiring people to pursue their purpose, the real reason for being on this planet, which is often not what they're doing, but it's really scary. So, when you're stepping out into that unknown. So what was it that finally gave you the conviction to say, all right, we're leaving this life and starting a new one?
Well, I think for me personally, I had everything that I was told that I needed to have to bring me happiness, but I was struggling with some bouts of depression that I really can't explain. I just felt the emptiness. And so then the COVID thing happened, the COVID shutdown, and that was really a blessing in disguise for us, because I got the opportunity to homeschool, and I loved it, and the kids were thriving in it. And then the farm thing started to come up with my mom, and so that I started entertaining that idea. And I think we just reached a point where we thought we just had to make a change. I mean, it was just I don't want to keep going this way, so I got to go.
There were definitely days, and I was talking with the guy who had the ranch out there in Colorado. His name is Hunter. And I remember calling him one time, and I told him, I said, man, it feels like there's a weight of an elephant sitting on my chest with this decision that I've got to make. He said, well, get used to that feeling if you're going to be a farmer, because it's not going to go away, I said, oh, that's not the answer I was looking for. But I think I know what this means, is that we have to make the leap of faith and do what we're being called to do.
Yeah.
Well, before we go to a commercial break, I just want to ask you, Kelly, do the boys like their homeschool teacher?
Depends on what day you ask. Yeah. Today may not be the day to ask.
All right, Cale and Kelly, let's take a quick commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience. are happy living here. I love good things made by good people. That's why I love Dry Farm wines. They've transformed my drinking experience with sugar-free, lower alcohol, lab-tested natural wine. It's only grown on small family farms with respect for nature and using regenerative agriculture. You can literally taste the difference. It's naturally delicious. And it's super important because the quality of the food we eat and the wine we drink makes up the quality of our life. Go to happyliving.com, select Partners in Happy, and get your first bottle of natural wine for 1 penny. Share the gift of natural wine and pour some love this holiday season. Cale and Kelly Crosby. They own and operate Indigo Ridge Farms. They're a beautiful little slice of heaven nestled in the valley of the southern Appalachian foothills. Cale and Kelly say they were put on this planet together to fulfill their God-given responsibility of being good stewards to both land and livestock. It's their aim to meet the needs of their family and their community with sustainable, holistic, and regenerative approach to farming for this and for future generations. They absolutely love the work they do and value their role as a farming family in their community. And wow, I just absolutely love that. And guys, I think you're going to also absolutely love this article that I found on lifescience.com. It's called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. And it says the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. It tells how science supports the idea that giving one's time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering purpose and overcoming difficulties and finding fulfillment and meaning in life. So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So what do you think, Cale and Kelly? Has given your time and your talents and your treasures been a pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting past difficulties that you've faced and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Yes, for
Definitely.
sure. As far as what do you think, Kelly? I mean,
yeah, no, I definitely think it has. I mean, this whole process has been a refinement. I'm spending more time now than I ever have with my kids. I am working harder physically than I've ever worked, but yet I feel so much more fulfilled than I've ever felt in my life. So I know it's making a difference. I can see it, that it's making a difference in the land. I can see it's making a difference with my kids and their approach to life. I hear from our customers, how much they value us being in the community. Yes, I definitely, I think all of that power plus purpose, it's working. It's working. And that's what I wanted. That's the void that I was missing. I loved nurse practitioner, loved it, but I almost reached a point where I felt like I wasn't able to, or that I wasn't helping people like I had originally gone into the career. There was a lot of, you can do this, you can do that, but you can't do this. And so I felt like my hands were tied a lot of ways. So I really feel that we're, fulfilling our purpose.
Yeah, we're like you said, we're investing so much of our time with our children.
Right.
At first, it was a lot to deal with.
Right.
It was hard
because we weren't used to it.
Yeah, I was used to going away for 8 hours a day and then meeting up with everyone in the evening, and we can talk and then go to bed and do it again. It's a perpetual cycle. And Kelly always said she wanted she and I to work together, and I said, "You're crazy. It's never going to happen." But here we are, and it's great.
Still married.
It's been good. It's been real good.
There.
That's good. And the idea of living in your purpose is it doesn't take away the hard work or the struggle, but it feels different. Right? As you're going through, it's still hard, or you still worry, but it's different because you're in your purpose.
Right.
Yeah. When we show up to a market day and we've got freezers full of products that was a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
it took us years to get to this point, and we're still not where we need to be, we don't feel like. There's still a lot of stuff out there that's unknown, but we're just trusting that this is where God has us, and that's where we need to be.
That's great. All right, so science tells us that giving to others helps bring real meaning to our lives. And the feeling that you get from that fourth element of significance, doing work that creates value for others, confirms it. But there's something bigger at work than just the giving. And I can feel it deep in my spirit. Cale and Kelly, it's when you're giving from living in your purpose. That's where you find the real magic of life. So now, guys, the audience and I would like to experience how it makes you feel to be happily living your life and giving to others through the work you were put on this planet to do, and people all around you have taken notice. So just sit back for a moment, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact you're making on their lives by finding the magic of purpose in your life. One person told me the lifestyle the Crosbys have created and continue to build for themselves and their children will have quite an impact. What today may seem like tiny seeds planted will become a bountiful harvest for family, farm, and community, and will no doubt reach generations to come. Another said, "Your family is so beautiful, love you all." Another wrote, "How thankful we are for your example of godly people, parents, and marriage." Others said, "I love this little family. They're a true inspiration of family and faith. I know a solid family when I see one. I love your family, exclamation point. Fun, awesome, really cool, hardworking, good looking, and inspiring. Inspiring is a great word to use to describe them. Makes me happy to see their boys loving the farm life. Our family can taste the difference you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. We love those fresh eggs from Happy Hens. The chicken sausage looks amazing. Love that garlic and honey. Indigo Ridge Farms makes me hungry. Knowing God and having my family are what makes me feel most rich, but having the best things for us to eat definitely adds to that. Thanks for what you do. Love everything y'all are doing and offering to your customers. And finally, one person wrote, "What a beautiful testimony. It's so beautiful to watch and read your stories on how God is changing your life and making a difference in so many others who homeschooled their kids as well." So, Cale and Kelly, how does all that love make you feel?
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty good there, Matt. Yeah. That's amazing to hear. Yeah. Can you replay that one more time?
On the bad days, we need to hear that played back on repeat.
Yeah. That's awesome. Great. The sowing the seeds, that's what that family that we met in Colorado that we were drawn to. There was a light and there's just a difference and a peace about them. And they were sowing seeds in us. So to hear that we're now sowing seeds into other people's life, that's it. I mean, that's what I want to keep doing for the rest of my days here on earth. Sowing seeds.
And that's, what I've really what I love exploring with my guests, and all of whom, by definition, as I seek them out, are doing and living their purpose. But when you're doing it, we mentioned before, it's still hard work. It's still stressful. It's still all that stuff, but it's different for you. But the real magic is people are feeling it from you. And you're not necessarily putting it out that way. You're just being Cale and Kelly and doing your thing. But people notice, just like you noticed a farmer up in Colorado Springs. You notice something different about them, and people are noticing that about you.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is all about. It's finding that magic in each of our lives, and it's available for everyone. If you're listening to this, it's available for everyone. That's what I believe. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time and talents and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering purpose. And giving from living in your purpose brings profound joy to your lives, but also to the lives of those around you. It seems that giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. So, to truly capture the exponential power of our happy formula, Cale and Kelly, I've got to tweak it just a little bit more. To power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power, and that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you guys?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you're a homeschool teacher, so you can use that for your next math class.
Yeah, I'm going to throw that math in there.
All right, guys, let's wrap things up with a lightning round. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites and have you tell us what they mean to you. Give us the first thing that comes to mind, because we call this a lightning round. Okay. So I'll start with you, Cale, and then Kelly, you can answer, and then we'll reverse it as we go through the quotes. So the first one's from Shunryu Suzuki, and he says, "You are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement." Cale, what's that mean to you?
I could always use improvement, you know. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I have no clue. Yes.
Kelly, what's it mean to you?
Yes. What was the first part of the quote?
You are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. Well, I know I'm not perfect, but that room to grow, I mean, that's encouragement. We have a lot more growing to do. We do not have it all figured out. You know, it's, that brings me excitement.
Sure.
All right. This one's from my past. I don't know who the author was, but it says, once you get where you want to be, you're not there anymore. Let's start with you, Kelly. Once you get where you want to be, you're not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to, I mean, just, we should never grow, you know, not wanting to be complacent. I never want to be complacent. I don't want to be complacent in this homeschool life or the farm life. You know, when I get complacent, I want God to be speaking to me, to move me on into maturity as well. So,
yeah, when you think that you've learned everything, wow, that's not a good place to be, because I never want to stop learning. I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, I've had a lot of different career paths in my adult life, and they're usually about a 180 every time I change a career or whatever. And farming was no different, from coming from an elevator inspector to this. So yeah, we're always learning. I never want to be still. And when we think we've made it, we got some problems, I think.
There you go. This is from John Burroughs. He says, start off with you, Cale. I go to nature to be soothed and healed, and to have my senses put in order.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great thing to think about, because every day when I go out with these cattle or the sheep or whatever it is, the chickens, the pigs, I'm not just, I am very task oriented, but lots of times I have to slow down and take it in and say, wow, that commute to work this morning, it took me from my driveway, you know, 100 yards away, you know, so I have to slow down and just be very grateful and thankful for where we are. And that I'm not fighting traffic each way every day going in and out of work.
Yeah. I think that quote to me just speaks to our connection with nature as well. You know, we're really an extension of the earth itself in a lot of ways. So, like I said, when we came out here and we thought, oh, we're going to be doing regenerative agriculture. Well, we're doing that, but we're also regenerating so much more around us that we've figured out. So connection.
That's great. This is from Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 8. It says, the Lord will send you a blessing. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land. Let's start with you, Kelly.
I have that verse tapped onto our cabinet over there in the kitchen. So yes, that just what that comes to mind when I read that verse is that reminds me the Bible verse that says, be still and know that I am the Lord. You know, that verse has been echoing in my mind so many times, to take my control out of the situation and just trust that this is where God is leading us. And I don't have to worry. You know, I'm called to be diligent, but the worry and the anxiety that comes with competing with the world is not necessary. So He's going to provide for our family. He is faithful, and he's not going to forsake us.
Yes, I know we've talked about it already, but God's the one who ultimately brought us here, who got us to this point in our lives, in our families' lives. And I have all the assurance that he will always provide for us, no matter if tomorrow we wake up and he speaks to us and says, quit farming. I want to be able to answer that call and to do whatever we're supposed to do, no matter what point that is in our life.
This is his story. This is his life. These are his children. This is his money. So we're players in it, and we just want to be obedient to him.
Absolutely.
I remember interviewing the guy who runs a therapeutic boarding school down in Georgia, and in the old format, I used to ask, instead of these quotes, I used to do, what do you wish you had known 10 years ago, and what do you expect to be doing 10 years from now? And when I asked him the question, what do you expect to be doing 10 years from now? He says, I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. If I wake up tomorrow and God says you need to sell shoes, then I'll be a shoe salesman. So it's exactly what you just said, Cale.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is from Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 4. It says, farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. Let's start with you, Cale.
Yeah, I'll take that to heart for sure. We do no-till practices out here, so I plant winter annuals every end of summer, early fall. And this year was one of those cases where if I'd have waited on the rain, I would have never planted. Yeah. Because we've been in about a 2-month drought now. And I've also quit watching the weather. The longer that we do it, the more that I learned that the anxiety of waiting on something that may not come, it will come in God's time. And I just need to be patient.
Right. We're just called to be diligent, whatever that looks like. And God sent the rain a few days ago, and we're expecting more this week. So he's gonna come through. Yeah.
Right on. And now, Cale, you mentioned no-till planting. Give the audience 30 seconds on what that is and why it's so important.
Okay, so no-till planting is basically a way to put the seeds into the soil without disrupting the whole top layer of soil. So if you could think of like a pizza cutter, I think I've heard it that way, where you're actually cutting into the soil, but it's covering it back up. Right. So the seeds are dropping into the hole that it's making there, the slit that it's making there in the earth. And then, we plant a whole mix of things that will bring nutrients back so we don't have to put the synthetic fertilizers and things like that.
But that's important because there's a whole ecosystem of microbes and fungi that's living under the soil. If you till it up, then you're going to disrupt that ecosystem, and that's mental,
It's a way of playing nicer with neighbors.
The what?
Right? It's a way of playing nice. It's a way of playing nicely with your neighbors.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes.
All right, last one. This is from Goff. He says, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that we started this at however we were a few years ago instead of, at 65 or 70. That would have been tough. I don't know if I would have had the energy. And some days I don't have enough energy, I don't think. Right. But yeah, I'm glad that we started when we did, because if we'd have held on for one more day, one more week, it would have been that much harder to break away from the security.
If we would have back from our calling when we were feeling that way in Colorado, this would have ended up being a different story. And God still could have used it, of course, but he had so much more and continues to have more in store for us. And I'm just thankful that we took that road to the left there, because it was a bold move of faith, but we're very thankful that we did.
Very good. All right. And now, folks, it's your chance to be a giver too. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Cale and Kelly Crosby, won't you please share a little love with our fabulous broadcast team by giving what you can to WITV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. Cale and Kelly, I love that your farm exists to fulfill your God-given responsibility to be good stewards to both land and livestock, and I'd add family and community too. and I admire your mission to create a lasting connection between the farmer and the community through building relationship with your land, your livestock, and your customer. And I'm super happy that you've shared your God-loving, hard-working, and kind-hearted spirit on our show today. Would you take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Wow. I don't know, Matt. We feel really honored that that you reached out to us and asked us to do this podcast. It's something that was definitely not on our radar, but God has a funny way of making things happen.
Yes, we certainly enjoyed reading your testimony too, Matt. I found that to be very inspiring.
Very powerful.
There. So, but to tell your listeners, I would just encourage them if they're ever feeling that there's a void, or if they just don't feel that, or they feel that there's something more, to listen to that and
pray about it.
And pray about it, and be excited, because we feel that's God speaking to you directly, and He's got something so great on the other side of that. And
that's it.
Very good. All right. Thank you, guys. And I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Cale and Kelly and reaching folks just like you, ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to social media and all things Cale and Kelly Crosby. Find them, friend them, learn about their Indigo Ridge Farms, order some naturally grown and locally raised beef or pork or chicken or eggs or other farm goods and cool merch too. Just go to indigoridgefarms.com. That's INDIGORIDGEFARMS.com. One more time, indigoridgefarms.com. From me to you, dear friends, I love you, and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and take our happy quiz. Because measuring your happy helps you focus attention on it, and focusing attention on it attracts change and learning and improvement all to flow right into your life. And once you take the quiz, and it only takes a minute, and please give some thought to what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome, and this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.